Welcome, let's begin. So come onto your hands and your knees. We'll start out with a little cat and cow. So on your inhale, slide your heart forward, lift your gaze, lift your seat. On your exhale, round your back. Inhale, lifting your gaze, lifting your seat. Middle back moves down. Exhale, round the back. One more round, inhaling, lift your gaze, lift your seat. Exhale and round. And settle back to a neutral table. And take your right foot, slide it back behind you. Pressing through the heel, maybe rolling over the toes. So the toes are down, rolling back and forth on the ball of the foot. And pick up your foot, move it over to your left, look over your left shoulder, shrug your right shoulder up towards your ear. So a little pressing back through the heel, lengthening out the right side. Bring your right foot out to your right, set your foot on the floor, come on up onto your left knee. Take your arms up and overhead. And then exhale. Take your left hand to the floor, reach your right arm alongside the ear. So nice deep stretch. Roll both shoulders back. Hug your right foot towards your left knee isometrically. And maybe the heart turns up a little bit. And walk your hands back down to the floor, taking your hands out in front of you. Curling your left toes under, sit back on your left heel, turn your right toes up, and walk your hands forward and out to the right about 45 degrees. Maybe sitting back on your left heel, trying to keep your left heel pointing straight up. And then lifting your hips, come on back to your hands and knees, still with your right leg out to the right. Keep your right hand where it is and slide left arm underneath your right, coming down onto your left shoulder. Take your right arm back behind you and open into a little deeper twist here. So settling your weight onto the side of your head and onto your left shoulder. If you feel comfortable there, shift your weight completely onto your left side and see if you can lift your right leg parallel to the floor. Make a little small circle if you can, spirograph style. And then set your foot down. Bring your right hand down, come back up to center. And bring your right knee underneath you. Left foot slides back. So toes curl under, a little press, opening up the calves a little bit. And then lifting your left foot, take it over to your right. Look over your right shoulder, shrug your left shoulder towards your ear. So lengthen out the left side body, maybe even a little gentle pulse through the back heel. And then pick up your left foot, take it out to the left. Set the foot down, walk yourself upright. And then inhale, take your arms up and overhead. Exhale, right hand comes to the floor. You can come to the fingertips, flat on the palm. If your wrist is uncomfortable, come to your fist, right? Top arm reaches up and over. So hug your left foot isometrically towards your right knee. Draw down through the tailbone, and maybe the heart lifts a little bit, adding a little, just a smidge of a back bend. Both shoulders rolling back. If it's too much, then the arm can stay up. Again, you can come onto fingertips or even use a block under your hand, the bottom hand. Now spinning your hands back to the floor. Walk your hands out in front of yourself. And then sit back on your right heel, turn your left toes up. Walk your hands about 45 degrees over to the left and forward as you bow. So getting a stretch on your right foot. Of course, lots of inner thigh, fairly decent amount of hamstring as well. And then lift back up, walk your hands back to center, spin your left toes back down. So we're going to twist to the left, keep your left hand where it is, slide your right arm underneath, come down onto your right shoulder, right side of the head. So letting your weight fully settle on the shoulder, maybe the left arm comes behind you, head of the left arm bone roots back, and the left hand reaches toward the outer right hip crease. And if you feel comfortable here, you can bear a little bit of weight on the right arm. Maybe the left foot lifts up. Maybe you can make a little circle with your foot without falling over. And then set the foot down. Release your hand. Come back down. Bring your left knee underneath you. And then just roll your hips around. So a little more circular fashion. Other way. A little rounding in the back. And settle back to neutral. So come all the way down onto your elbows for a Sphinx pose. Pressing into the elbows and forearms. Toes pointed back behind you, tailbone rooting. And then hug your forearms back. Draw the heads of the arm bones back. And just a little snake action as you draw the body forward. Pressing your pubis maybe lightly into your mat and drawing it forward. So a little bit of length at the low back. Then come all the way down onto take your right arm out in front of you, palm down, roll to your right side. Your left leg comes forward, your bottom leg moves back. And then you're going to take your left arm out in front of you, reach up toward the ceiling and open up into a twist. Your head rolls off of your arm, onto the floor. You may be playing a little bit of kind of seesaw with your arm and your leg. If there's any discomfort in your top shoulder, bring your hand to your hip. And just breathe. And then roll back onto your belly. Take your left arm out in front of you with the palm down. Roll to your left side. Right leg comes forward, left leg moves back. Take your right arm out in front of you. Reach up toward the sky. Roll off. Oh yeah, and see if you can bring your opposing shoulder to the floor. So a nice deep twist. And just breathe. Challenging to keep your breath going while you're twisting pretty deeply, but you can make it work. And then roll back onto your belly. All right, so we're going to roll onto the side. I'll show you this from this direction. Rolling onto your side, you can prop yourself up on your elbow. Bend your knees. Stack your knees, stack your hips, and then using your right hand, press your right hip forward just a little bit. So you know your hips and your knees are going to stay stacked. Connect the inseam of the feet. So the mounds of the big toes and the inner heels, keep them connected. Press them strongly into one another. Take an inhale. And on your exhale, lift the top knee. Be there for another round of breath. Inhaling. Pressing the feet into one another. And then inhale and release. And then exhale and lift again. You can always set your head down if the angle doesn't feel comfortable. But don't allow your hips to roll back. Keep your hips nice and stacked. So you're really feeling it in the glutes, pressing your feet into one another. And lower the knee down. And one last one, exhaling. Lifting the knee, press the feet into one another. And release the knee down. And we're going to take your top knee in towards yourself. See if you can take a hold of your foot. So you can take peace sign fingers to your big toe and take your leg all the way up to vertical. Or you can take a hold of your leg anywhere that you need to. Hamstrings, if they're feeling pretty tight, which for a lot of us they are. So you may want to take a different hold of the leg, back behind the calf, back behind the thigh. So whatever works for you. Anantasana. And if you want to play with your balance a little bit, can the bottom leg straighten and be parallel to the edge of your mat without falling over and while trying to keep your top leg pretty vertical. And then bend your top knee, bend your bottom knee, give yourself a little stability, and we're going to take a hold of the foot of the ankle and just a little bit of a thigh stretch, so almost like dancer pose on your side, pressing your right foot into your hand, draw the thigh back in space, root your tailbone, and then maybe your left leg lengthens. Press your foot back into your hand as you draw the thigh back in space, keep rooting the tailbone. And then we're going to take this pose and just roll it onto your belly. So literally just roll. Press the foot back into your hand. Lift your front arm. I'm running into the couch here, but you get the idea. And release. Just cross your arms, rest your chin on your hands. Pick your feet up and a little reverse windshield wiping. Bring your feet to the floor, press yourself to table, and then we'll go to the other side. So I'll turn around here, come down onto your right side, bending your knees. Bring your left hand to your hip and press your hip forward a little bit, so stacking your knees, stacking your hips. Press the inner edges of your feet strongly into one another. I can't stress enough how important it is to have that super strong connection to the midline. So as you press your feet into one another, hinge, lifting your left knee. Set your head, just let it rest on your upper arm. So your left hand keeps your hips stacked, working the head of the left arm bone back as you open the leg. And then lower the left knee. And next exhale, open the knee again. Press your feet strongly into one another. And if you're not feeling anything, you may not be working your feet as hard as you think. So press your feet into one another. Spread the toes. And lower the knee down. And one last one. Open the left knee. Just look at yourself. Make sure your hips look like they're stacked. And release the knee down. Now let's bring your left knee in. You're going to take a hold anywhere you need to the leg, the pant leg, or maybe peace sign fingers around the big toe as the leg comes up. So see if you can have the leg slightly externally rotated, and then maybe the bottom leg works its way a little bit straighter as you just stay here and just try to balance yourself. So little movements with the breath. It's all good. It's all part of the pose. Good, and then bend top knee, bend bottom knee. Take a hold of your left ankle or foot. Stack your thighs again so they're pretty much parallel to one another, and then press your left foot back into your hand as you draw the thigh back in space, trying to remain parallel to the floor with your left thigh as best you can. So the inner left thigh slides the leg back, the tailbone roots down, opposite direction. So just kind of picture those energies. You can feel it in your body. You move that inner left thigh back, the leg moves back behind you, but rather than having that force your upper body forward, you draw your tailbone slightly down and underneath you so you can maintain a little more of that kind of vertical height through your torso. I know you're on your side, but I think you know what I mean. All right, and then straighten your bottom leg. And we'll flip it onto your belly. So turn it over, press your foot back into your hand, lift your other arm. And then release. And cross your arms, set your chin on your hands, pick your feet up. A little reverse windshield wiping. And set the feet down. So slide your hands back, come up to table. And if you have a block, grab a hold of the block. And come down onto your back. Put a block between your knees and set your feet at hip distance width. Pressing your arms down into the floor, lift your hips, coming into a bridge. So walk the shoulders a little toward the midline underneath yourself. This is the biggest bridge ever. But hug the block with your knees. Get your glutes to work. Engaging the core. And then lower the hips. Take the block out from between your knees. And then we're going to do a little hip opening. So I'm going to turn this way. So cross your right ankle over your left knee. And you can either stay right here or draw your left thigh in. Hug your thigh towards yourself and work your hip opener here. So rooting the right knee away from your body a little bit as you draw your left thigh in closer to yourself. Spread your pinky toes. Try to karate chop the edge of your right foot away from your body. And then release the legs, set it down. Take your legs as they are. Don't uncross the ankle. Take your legs over to your left. And keep your foot perched up there on your left knee and try to root your right thigh away from yourself. And come back up to center. Uncross the legs. Set the right foot down, cross your left ankle over your right knee. Draw your right thigh in towards yourself. And just start to find your eye of the needle. Even just coming into the pose, you can feel how your hips are waking up. So to whatever extent you need it, you can also use a strap back behind your right thigh and have a little bit more of a rein on the straps if it feels too intense for the hip. You don't want to do any of this at the detriment of your knee, right? So spreading your toes, maybe your hands hug your right thigh a little closer to your chest. Karate chop the air with the edge of your left foot. And just breathe. Breathe out any tension you're feeling in your jaw. And let's release. Bring the foot to the floor. Take your arms out to your sides, and then with your legs still crossed, take your legs over to your right. Your right thigh rests against the floor, and you just gently root your left knee away from your body. So your left foot is just perched up there gently on your right knee. And then come back up to center and uncross your feet. Okay, so we're going to do another bridge. I'll turn sideways so you can see this angle. Pressing into your feet, just lift your hips and take your block and turn it so that it's in the midway zone. This is the lowest That's the midway, and then that's the highway. So go to the midway, and take the block under your sacrum. And then scoot one shoulder at a time toward the midline, not towards your heels, toward the midline. Turn the palms up and press your arms down, and just let yourself be here for a moment with the support of the block under your sacrum. Bring one knee in then toward your head, but don't let your chest collapse. Bring the other knee in, but don't let your chest collapse. Take your feet up. So see if you can be here. Maybe a little pointing and flexing of the feet, but still a lift through the heart as your sacrum is supported with the block. And then bend the knees, set the feet down. Slide your right heel forward, press through the heel, lengthen from your tailbone to your heel, and then slide that heel back in, other heel slides out, press, flexing the foot through the inner edge of the leg. And then come on in, plant the feet. We're going to take the block and turn it to its highest setting. So now you're going to need to come up onto your tippy toes, lift your pelvis a little higher, turn the block so it's on its highest setting, and then set your sacrum on the block here. See if you can bring your heels back down to the floor. Hands might find a clasp as the shoulders come even more toward the midline underneath you. So now you have a lot of support right under the sacrum. A little gentle lift here in the chin. Right knee comes in, left knee comes in. Again, not letting the chest collapse, but taking the legs up. And then bend the knees. Set the toes down. Lift the pelvis, slide the block out from underneath you. And then as you lower your spine, walk the shoulders slowly out. Lower the whole thing down, nice and easy. It's amazing how far away the floor feels when you're perched up on that tall block. And then walk the feet out. Take your arms out into a T. Walk your feet as wide as your mat. One set of windshield wipers to each side. So feet go wide for that, knees drop. And come back to center. And then take Shavasana. So lengthen your legs all the way out. Arms are maybe a little closer to your body, palms turned up. Close your eyes, let yourself settle.